I really appreciate what you've laid out and what you've done to highlight the work that needs to be done and what the Gulen Institute is doing in Kamal in reaching out, and I have to say very successfully, in this community. I think that, and I've spent my whole career in the media. I started out as a reporter. I've been an anchor. I'm now in sales. Pardon me. I've been in sales management, and now community relations, public relations. And I would say to you that the key word I would like to focus on that you said is not intentional. And the reason is that most of the people in the media are moving at such a fast pace. The filter that used to be there 20 years ago, when there were so much less media, is the time to gather, speak to many people, write, edit, pick sound bites, package a story. Now you barely are on the site of a breaking news story and you are on the air. And now you must also be blogging in between the live shots, because it's the internet and the on the air, and it's all coming together at once very quickly. So we are at the mercy of the people with the microphone who may be having their own prejudices, but more likely just don't know. Just don't know, because they've lived in the United States, because they just, have the filter of their own life experience. So I think that's really important to know that the pressures of the media, and the media is getting more and more taxed financially in terms of having the resources to have experts. The idea that a New York Times would have a reporter, Lori Goodstein, who I'm gathering from your comments has the beat of religious studies, that's so wonderful. I guarantee you on the local level, there is no such beat. I mean, I think the newspaper has a religious section, and so, on the print side, there's probably someone more informed. And on a national level at some of the networks, ABC, NBC, CBS probably does not have a religious expert, religious studies expert. CNN, certainly they have worldwide correspondents that are extremely knowledgeable about all corners of the world, and I think they do actually have a religious expert. So I think that's the key thing that we need to build on, is that there is not an intent, and then work on ways that we can understand and not promote ridiculous stereotypes. And I underline the word ridiculous stereotypes. And most of the time, stereotypes they're unconscious. They're really hidden in things that we just are not conscious of. So those would be my two initial thoughts about this. And then the third thing would be that there is no good excuse or good reason. But part of what happens, I think, is that we are in such a free society of the free press that, yes, a documentary full of hate can actually be purchased and put inside of a New York Times. The same way a flag can be burned, the same way. I mean, that is what America is. And I think that this speech, all that we can do as individuals is let our heart and our conscience speak louder than the words that are hateful, but are certainly free to be spoken in this country.
My experience at Channel 8, prior to working as a communications person, I was in charge of local production when September 11th happened. And we were doing a show called The Connection, which was a roundtable. We would talk about every issue that happened in the city of Houston. We would sit down and we would talk about it in a four-person roundtable discussion with different points of view represented. And then after September 11th, I remember driving down 59, stuck in traffic, of course, and it was just a day or two after September 11th, and I saw the police had pulled over a Muslim man, and he was standing behind his car, and I don't know, it's sort of like our eyes linked at each other, and I just saw this pain in his eyes, and it really struck me, and I thought about friends of mine that were Muslim, and I thought, what is their life going to be like now? And I worried about my own country. What are we going to lose our humanity? Are we going to move away from our principles and the things that make us such a great country? The fact that so many people can come from all over the world here and create a life based on freedom and pursuing the things that make them happy, are we going to lose that? And that was sort of in the back of my mind. And I went on, producing The Connection, and I thought, let's stop a minute and change direction with the show. And so what we decided to do is we decided to make The Connection an opportunity for our viewers to tune in and learn about different faiths. So from then on, we invited people from different religious communities to come to the station and talk about different issues. I remember the first one we did was, how do you live a religious life in a secular world? After that, we talked about issues like forgiveness. What did the different faiths teach us about forgiveness? And it was probably one of the most incredible experiences in my professional career, because I felt like this is what the media can do to help people understand each other. And it was nothing special. It wasn't fancy, no flashy graphics. It was just people getting together in a room, talking to each other, and giving our viewers the opportunity to learn about different faiths. And that's what we try and do at public broadcasting, is just foster that understanding. We are, we exist. The sole reason that we exist is to educate people. That's why public television exists. And commercial folks really do try and do the best they can, but they are operating under a different model. They're operating under a business model. If something doesn't rate, it's not going to stay. That's just the reality of the world that they live in. We as public broadcasters don't have that. We're not focused on ratings. Our mission is to educate people, and that's what we try and do through our programming. So, and to me, the only solution to this is education. That's the only thing that's going to save us. It's, ignorance is what is killing us, and we just need to learn about each other. I remember actually one of the other parts of this was when we hosted these shows. One of the imams from the mosque on the southeast side of town invited me to come to a presentation that he was doing. It was an interfaith discussion called Islam 101, because I realized I didn't know that much about Islam. I had friends that were Muslim, but I didn't even know what the difference between Islam and Muslim was. And, and it was just a great experience for me to go and learn about the faith. So that way, when I confront ignorance, I can help people. Well, that's not what Islam's about. This is what Islam teaches. So I had to educate myself on the topic before I could educate our viewers about it. So
a lot of people forget where they came from. Okay? And I always tell this story because I'm a third generation Polish American. And I've done some studies on my grandparents, and when they came over here in the 1904, 1906, they had $10 in their pocket when they got off the boat at Ellis Island. They went to a community north of Boston in Ipswich, Massachusetts, and they lived in Pole Alley, and they were on the bottom of the rung. Okay? I'm just going to fast forward. And whenever we get a new generation of different people from different countries to come in, that's what happens here in America. And by the third or fourth generation, these people, the grandparents want you to hold on to your language, and then your parents are like, well, you got to learn English too, because you got to survive in this world if you want to make it in America. And then by the time the third or fourth generation, we're like, we're from Poland or Israel or Germany or Turkey or wherever. And so our sons and grandchildren, they kind of forget where, because they're now Americans. Okay, they want to listen to MTV, and they want to watch Jon Stewart because, he should be, he's the best anchor in America. We've done a survey on, and that's who came up, Jon Stewart of the comedy show.
Right.
And you're like, the kids believe that. That's what they think that's what news is. So, that's what happens. And if I think people know where they came from and the battles their grandparents, I think they have a better understanding of not only who they are, but the other people that are moving into our country that want to become, that receive the opportunities that so many of us have had, and where they may not have in their homeland where they came from.